Dr. Jayanti Dutta from Human Resource Development Center of Panjab University, Chandigarh. This is the environmental education course and the module number is 47. The topic of the module is application of extracurricular activities at teachers training institutes. Here we are going to learn about the significance of extracurricular activities for the participants, the challenges of conducting extracurricular activities, extracurricular activities for environmental education of different types, and after going through the module, the learners will be able to understand the significance of extracurricular activities, know about the cautions and preparations the mentors have to take for the conduct of extracurricular activities, and will be able to learn a number of extracurricular activities which can be applied for environmental education. Dear learners, the word extracurricular is made up of two words, extra meaning outside and curricula meaning course. Extracurricular activities are those activities for the students which are outside the sphere of the normal curriculum of school, college or university education. Such activities are usually team activities and are creative, community based, social or philanthropic in nature, and are conducted to develop a holistic personality of the students. Now, let us understand what is the significance of extracurricular activities for the participants. Participation in extracurricular activities reduces the likelihood of dropping out of school, of committing a criminal offence, antisocial behaviors, and it also leads to higher educational achievements in schoolwork and success in communication and relationships. It has been observed that the students involved in extracurricular activities develop more self-esteem, interpersonal and communication skills, tolerance for differences, respect for diversity and resilience in adverse situations. Extracurricular activities deepen the learning experience and, if designed intelligently, can help in the development of the students in all the three domains of education, that is cognitive, affective and psychomotor. Teachers training institutes, which train the prospective teachers during pre-service trainings and the senior teachers during in-service trainings, can use extracurricular activities to enrich the academic environment and to augment the effectiveness of the training program. In programs and courses regarding environmental education, extracurricular activities can help achieve the objective of bringing in awareness of different aspects of environmental issues and motivation to propagate the message of conservation. Participation in such activities also ensures that the teacher trainee masters the skills of organizing such activities themselves and is able to conduct them for their students in their schools. Training in such activities instills a creative ability in the participants and they can create their own tailor-made activities specifically suited to the conditions of their own students. Now, let us understand what are the challenges of conducting extracurricular activities. Despite of having multiple benefits of using extracurricular activities along with the academic programs and professional trainings, many institutes are reluctant to use more of these activities. It is because pre-planning, basic resources and a proactive approach are needed to conduct these programs effectively. If organized in a casual and non-serious manner, the activities are considered as frivolous and waste of time and effort by the participants, and this leads to their disillusionment with the course. Hence, it is very necessary that the institutes conduct them after careful preparation, consideration of logistic details and attention to the outcomes of the activity. The rule of thumb is to conduct only those activities which are relevant to the theme and meaningful for achieving the objective of the program. The mentors need to do their homework meticulously and cover all aspects of the activity beforehand. To conduct the activity just for ticking the box has a more negative impact. Briefing and debriefing of the activities are critical for the desired outcome. Creative ideas, flexibility in approach, freshness in the conduct of the extracurricular activities are very much needed for the participants to enjoy, engage in and internalize the experiential learning. Let us have a look at what can be the extracurricular activities which are meant for environmental education. Several books, magazines, websites and blogs are there which can provide an exhaustive list of extracurricular activities. However, the teachers training institutes need to select and use only relevant activities. 30 such extracurricular activities which can be used for environmental education along with their objectives and brief pointers on how to conduct them are discussed here. The first of them is the use of research projects. The objectives of this activity is to develop the spirit of inquiry, scientific temperament, critical thinking, to learn the method of systematic investigation and research, and to present and defend written and oral presentation of one's research findings based on evidence. The National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education of 2009 mandates school-based research projects under teacher education program to be taken up by the prospective teacher, and these have been included in different courses run by the institutes. Apart from academic requirement, research projects can be undertaken as extracurricular activity as well, wherein teachers can learn research skill, develop a taste for engagement with research-based teaching, and get enthused for doing action research themselves. Teachers can also be trained to use research in the classroom as a teaching tool. Participants in this activity take up minor projects and then design them in such a way as to bring in more outcomes through minimum resource expenditure. Organizers pre-plan the research activity and facilitate the process for the participants. Each research project ends with either an oral presentation in a peer group or publication of a paper in in-house journal. This would bring the needed seriousness and rigor in the activity and help in achievement of the objectives. The second activity discussed here is publishing an in-house journal. The objectives of this activity is to plan a complete document on the theme of environment and to learn the skills of editing, sorting, categorizing, etc. During the activity, an in-house environmental journal can be created by teams of participants. The journal can contain several genres of creative writing such as poems, articles, posters, reports, news, research papers, etc. Team members should be assigned different roles, that is, they can be editors, artists, writers, news reporters, etc. The journals can be handwritten or can be created with the help of computer. Journal making is a collective activity in which all members can participate. It is also a teaching strategy of learning by doing. The third activity, academic scrapbooking, has its objectives in which mainly is to engage with the issues of environmental awareness through a visual perspective, to develop the skills of sorting, editing, visual composition, etc., and to learn researching available literature. In this activity, academic scrapbooking or academic journaling, which involves creating a journal by collating various information and pictures, photographs from resources like magazines, journals and newspapers, etc., in the form of a visual composition to convey a message. The participants would need to search for the material and think of strategies to present them in a cohesive way. The activity generates a lot of enthusiasm, brainstorming and creative expression. The final outcome, that is the scrapbooks, can be displayed for reference or can be used as teaching tools by the teachers. The fourth activity discussed here is newspaper content analysis. The objectives are to observe the pattern of representation of environmental issues in print media, to learn the method of content analysis and to get apprised about the contemporary environment scenario in the region. In this activity, participants select a time period such as a fortnight, 1 month or 6 months and collect old newspapers of that period. Content related to environmental issues published in the newspapers are scanned, collated and categorized. This information can be presented in several forms as wall posters, PowerPoint presentations or a paper. Comparison between two newspapers and statistical presentation with pie charts, graphs, etc. can also be done. This activity helps us to see the interconnection of things and realize how environmental issues are crucial in all spheres of our lives. The fifth activity is poetry writing and recitation. The objectives are to express emotions evoked by nature, environment, its erosion or degradation, to use language in an expressive way and to understand the non-tangible worth of nature's aesthetics. In the activity, after a briefing on the role of poetry in expressing our emotions and in evoking inspirational feelings, participants can be given some environmental related topics to write simple poetry, or they can choose their own topics. Later, the compositions are read in the house, commented on and discussed. The compositions can be used as slogans or quotations for other activities such as wall magazines, journal writing, etc. Slam poetry competitions can also be organized. Recitation of poems by well-known poets in which environmental aesthetics or other issues have been taken up can be memorized and recited. Here the objective is to emphasize on and enjoy the play of words, the beautiful phrases and the imagery that has been evoked through the rendition. Good pronunciation, tone of voice, pauses, rhythm and inflections are some of the aspects that has to be taken care of while reciting the poems. The participants can be given the challenge to search the literature and dig out good poems in vernacular languages, and an anthology can be created of such poems in different Indian languages. Poster making or painting is another popular activity in which objectives are to bring abstract ideas of environment into paintings or symbols. To become apt in understanding and using non-verbal communication of message propagation through paintings and pictures, and to unleash one's creativity. Paintings and poster making on environmental themes is a ubiquitous activity and is practiced right from primary classes to the higher ones. Hence, while conducting these activities, there is a fear of becoming cliched and hackneyed if these are not planned creatively. The organizers need to bring new challenges in the form of fresh themes, restricting the medium such as only wax crayons or charcoals or watercolors, etc. The rules of the activity have to be clearly spelled out. The participants bring along basic stationery. Adequate space is needed for participants to spread their sheets and work on them. The activity can be in the form of a competition, or the paintings and posters thus produced can be later on used for exhibition. Writing book reviews of environmental themed books. Objective is to develop the skills of analysis and critical thinking, and to get an overview of contemporary environment themed books. First of all, in this activity, a workshop is held to brief the participants about the technique of writing a book review. A collection of environment themed books can be procured from the library, and one book is assigned to each participant for reviewing. Participants submit a written book review and also share them with the peers in a session. As a result, all the participants in a group become aware of the contemporary debates, issues on the theme of environment. This activity could also generate a lot of ideas for research, further readings and writings. Declamation. The objectives of this activity is to learn the skill of public speaking and to learn to write and narrate a precise and comprehensive composition on the specific theme of environment. Participants are allotted themes on which they have to present their speech. It should be kept in mind that the themes should be fresh and original. Cliched topics do not help the participants to achieve the objective of the activity. Participants prepare their speeches, but before the final round, a preparatory round takes place where the mentor and peers listen to the presentation and suggest improvements. The presenter then incorporates the suggestions and presents the final refined speech. A declamation contest can be conducted and participants can be encouraged by rewarding them with simple incentives. Group discussion. This extracurricular activity has the objectives to learn the skill of presenting one's point of view succinctly, to sharpen our listening skills, and to learn to develop respect for others' views and accommodate them in the discussion. Here, the participants are divided into small peer groups, rules are set and announced, time limit is declared, and discussion topics are allotted. Discussions takes place and one of the group members, the scribe, notes down important points. After the small group discussion is over, the findings or the summary is presented to the house where more inputs are discussed with the wider community. A guided group discussion enables teachers to discuss their techniques, strategies or solutions which can be integrated back into their teaching and school curricula. Movie and discussion. The objective of this activity is to have a visual experience of environment issues, to go beyond the text in understanding significant aspects of environment and to develop a critical eye. Watching a movie is considered to be an entertaining pastime, but it can be a very educative activity also, provided some basic issues are taken care of. The selection of the movie is very important. An interesting but thought-provoking movie should be selected. The format should not be a pirated version. The screening of the movie should be followed by a discussion moderated by the mentor, in which the learning from the movie is highlighted and brainstorming is done on how to implement them in the classrooms. Good movies and documentaries always raise important issues and conversations can be enriching. The next extracurricular activity that we are going to learn about is Meet the Expert. The objectives of this activity is to gain a fresh and first-hand perspective on environmental issues, to interact with and clarify doubts from the experts having in-field experience. Experts or resource persons are persons who have worked in a certain field and have an in-depth understanding and insights in that field. Interaction with them gives us a time-saving method to access the nuances through a shortcut. Experts on environmental issues can be invited for an interaction with the participants. However, such sessions are successful only when queries from the audience are encouraged and lectures are followed by enlightening discussions. Otherwise, such sessions can prove to be very boring with few learning outcomes being achieved from them. Experts can be drawn from varied fields of academia, media, governmental and non-governmental organizations or entertainment, literature and activism fields. Public forum debate has its objectives as to learn the skill of public speaking and to defend one's point and perspective, to know the contemporary debates in environment. Public forum debate is a team event that advocates or rejects a position posed by a resolution topic. Details of the rules are available on several websites. However, rules can be simplified. The participants are grouped into teams of 2 and given resolutions on which to debate. They are briefed about the rules. The debate should display solid logic, lucid reasoning and depth of analysis. Debaters should defend their position by using evidence, countering or refuting arguments of the opposing team, communicating ideas with clarity, organization, eloquence and professional decorum. The clash of ideas takes place before a judge who decides the winner of the debate. The next activity is the Model United Nation, and objectives are to learn about how environmental issues are decided at the international level in the United Nations and understand the complexities and nuances of the issues, and to learn the skill of listening, speaking and negotiation. Model United Nations, also known as Model UN or MUN, is an educational simulation or an extracurricular activity in which participants known as delegates are placed in committees or organizations where they represent members of that body. They are given their assignments in advance along with the topic that their committee will discuss. Delegates conduct research before conferences and formulate positions that they then debate with their fellow delegates in the committee, staying true to the actual position of the member they represent. After the conference, the best performing delegates or delegations are given awards. Participants can be given controversial environmental issues to discuss. This activity develops deeper understanding of the issue as well as critical thinking. The Teachers Training Institute mentors should have a clear understanding of the rules, though these can be simplified based on the specificity of the group. The rules of MUN are detailed and can be accessed at Model United Nations website. Then we have the quiz, in which the objectives are to test the knowledge and understanding of environmental concepts and processes, to develop the skill of taking snap decisions and to reinforce the knowledge through recall. During this activity, most of the participants which are familiar with the format of the quiz. Participants can be involved in the preparation of the event by collating interesting facts, preparing a question bank, categorizing questions into different rounds, organizing the quiz, being quiz master, keeping scores, keeping time and finally planning the award ceremony. A lot of enthusiasm is generated this way and learning takes place in an academically charged environment. Photography is another extracurricular activity whose objectives are to learn to see the landscape and social scenario in an environmental context and to capture an abstract idea into a concrete image. During this activity, people are asked to click photographs. Smartphone camera is a handy device to capture images that we see around us and find interesting. This activity has become a popular way of self-expression. Photography can be used as a strategy to train the participants into observant persons. For the activity, participants are given a specific topic on environment and a briefing about the basic rules of photography. They are asked to click pictures pertaining to the topic. All the photographs are then projected, and each participant is given a chance to describe the picture and comment on its local and global relevance. The teacher educators should be cautious not to give a cliched theme as the photographic challenge. The next activity is video making. The objectives are to identify and document local environmental issues and to learn the skill of coherent and interesting visual presentation using minimal resources to convey environmental narratives. With smartphone or handycam, it has become easier for everybody to make short videos. Participants are first briefed about the activity and they are required to decide on the themes that they will work on. All the themes are discussed and inputs from peers are taken to enrich the presentation. If resources are available, simple computer softwares for editing, animation and sound effects, etc. can be used to enhance the quality of presentation. The goal is to present a story, an argument, a narrative or a documentary on the theme of environment with the objective of spreading awareness, changing behavior or convincing the audience about a certain position. Preparation and shooting of the video will need time. A time limit of 5 minutes of video to be prepared can be prescribed. In the classroom, all the short videos can be uploaded in the system and projected for viewing. A film festival can also be organized. Best film awards can be awarded with fanfare for encouraging and incentivizing the activity. Web of Life activity. The objectives of this activity is to understand how every single animal, plant and other aspects of environment such as water, rocks, soils, etc. are connected and make a healthy ecosystem. This is a workshop activity and can be easily done in a classroom setting also. Organizers need as many cards as there are participants in a group. Participants are split into groups and given a set of animal and plant cards. Each participant in the group takes one card and represents the animal or the plant on his or her card. Each participant has to explore how his or her animal or plant is connected to others in the group. Connections between each animal and plant are represented using wool threads held between them. Then the group discusses what would happen if some of the animals or plants disappeared from the ecosystem, visibly breaking the thread between those that are connected. Next is radio programs. Objectives are to plan an audio program on the theme of environment for a specific audience and to realize the effectiveness of radio communication for spreading awareness of environmental issues. FM radios are nowadays a popular mode of mass communication. Private agencies, universities and several small bodies run their own channels and are eager to share studio space with authentic educational content. Organizers need to contact such a nearby radio station and coordinate the broadcast of an interesting radio program put together by the participants. Participants are instructed to come up with simple audio presentations, messages, poems, plays on the theme of environment as per the need, which is recorded and broadcast by the radio station. Environmental games. The objectives is to be able to identify biodiversity of the region and to create a learning game. The existing popular games such as snake and ladder, ludo, chess, monopoly, etc. are adapted on environmental concepts. On the format of these board games, each participant creates a biodiversity board game using diverse characters such as animals, birds, insects, trees, plants, fruits, herbs, etc. belonging to the local area. The game can be hand-drawn or photographs or cutouts from old magazines, newspapers can be used. Recycling or upcycling. The objectives is to create new objects and usable articles from old discarded objects to realize the motto of recycle for environment conservation. This is a popular activity in schools. The participants bring old discarded objects such as newspapers, worn clothes, iron, rubber and plastic objects, cardboard containers, e-waste, etc. The extracurricular activity involves creating new and usable things from them. Puppets, dolls, etc. can also be made for using in other activities. Such session generates a lot of ideas and enthusiasm which can be channeled into the sensitization process of how recycling and upcycling saves resources. The next activity is composting and vermicomposting, and the objectives are to learn the process of composting, an important concept in waste management, and to understand the importance of simple steps towards environmental conservation. Composting is the process of breaking down the organic matter in food waste into a natural product called compost, which is rich in plant nutrients and can be added to the soil's health. Vermiculture or vermicomposting is a process of composting in which earthworms are used to produce vermicompost by feeding them on organic waste materials. Participants are explained the processes and the steps to make compost and vermicompost from food waste. Participants then undertake the project at a small scale. Organizers will need to dedicate separate space and create a separate system to undergo this activity. In some institutes, demonstrations of these ongoing activities are also held. Though once created, the infrastructure can be utilized many times for fulfilling results. This activity is to be conducted during long duration programs. The first few steps can be taught in short courses also. Cleanliness campaigns can also be held as an extracurricular activity, and the objectives is to learn the value of cleanliness and hygiene in one's own environment and to practice environmental conservation at the local level. During this activity, participants select a natural spot in the neighborhood where environment needs to be cleared up from dumped garbage such as beaches, forests, hillsides, parks, meadows, riversides, lakes and ponds, etc. Cleaning equipments and articles, gloves, brooms, dustbins, etc. are needed, and cleanliness campaign is conducted at that place. Organizers' role is to plan, facilitate, lead and execute the activity. The next one is nature walk, a bird walk or a biodiversity walk. In this objective is to document and record the biodiversity, the natural forms and birds on the trail, and to learn to keep the natural setting clean and litter free. During this activity, participants are taken on a nature walk where they would be required to observe the trees, the birds, the natural features, insects along the way. Organizers need to pre-plan the logistics for such trips. It includes choosing the best time of the day, appropriate trail, getting permissions, making safety and first aid arrangements, arranging transport, etc. An expert and resource person who is able to identify and point out the observable features need to accompany the group. Rules should be set before venturing out. The participants should document and record what they observe by writing, drawing or photography. Participants can also collect leaves, fruits, seeds or other found objects, but should take care not to damage or destroy. No littering of the natural spot should be done. After the walk, a reflection session should be arranged wherein all participants share their learning and exhibit their collections. Similarly, education trips are also good extracurricular activities in which we can achieve the objectives of witnessing biodiversity conservation in situ, to experience environmental degradation on site and to develop organizational or managerial skills. Out of campus trips with an educational objective can be very useful because these provide unique experiences which cannot be replicated in the classroom. Wildlife sanctuaries, reserves, forests, botanical gardens or zoo, etc. are sites which are rich in learning opportunities. Visits to garbage dumps, sites of erosion, deforestation and degradation also help us in understanding the vicious impact of consumerism and materialism. However, a visit alone cannot suffice for the effectiveness of the activity. The role of the mentor is to point out and highlight the hidden interactions and linkages of environmental importance. For successful trips, advanced planning is needed. Organizers also need to arrange for permissions, transport, safety, etc. Participants can be involved through participatory management and can learn leadership skills along with managerial competencies. Mapping the locality is an interesting extracurricular activity in which the objectives are to prepare an environmental map of the locality and to develop a vigilant approach towards local environment problems. The participants are briefed about basic cartography, that is map making skills. Participants then move around the locality and make an environmental map by marking the flora, the open spaces, the water bodies, natural spots, polluting units or areas which are either environmentally conserved or degraded and eroded. This gives them an in-field idea of the local aspect of environment conservation and issues of concern. The maps created by different teams can be discussed in the group and displayed for mutual sharing. Environmental audit can also be done, and the objective of this extracurricular activity is to understand the technical process of environmental compliance audit, to get sensitized towards the need to practice environmental conservation do's and don'ts at individual and institutional level, and to practice and develop a vigilant approach towards environmental issues. Environmental audits review the legal compliance status of any institution in an operational context. Compliance audits check compliance as per the national, state and local regulations. This technical tool can be modified into an extracurricular activity by simplifying it into a checklist of environmental do's and don'ts. The participants are divided into teams and are required to scout around the campus of an institute to check whether these simple rules are being followed or not. Water audits can be done to find out the status of leaky taps, broken pipes. Electricity audit can reveal information about wastage of electricity. Cleanliness audit can point out to corners and areas which need cleaning, and paper audit can put a stop to the wastage of paper. Scavenger hunt is an extracurricular activity, and its objectives are to learn to look at the things we find in nature in a different way, to be able to appreciate the diversity of colors, textures, shapes, etc. found in nature. In this activity, participants are split into teams, and each team is given a list of colors, textures, shapes, etc. to collect from the environment during a scavenger hunt outdoors. It helps if this activity can be held in a natural setting or along with trips or treks in forests, hills or seaside. Conditions or rules of the game are to be set beforehand. Only found objects are to be collected. The collections are displayed and their significance is discussed. The team which collects the maximum number of objects is declared the winner. Celebrations and exhibitions are very important in the life of an institute, and its objectives are to create operations for awareness and knowledge about environment through celebrations of nature, seasons, biodiversity, cuisines, etc., to showcase the diversity of life forms and natural bounties. Celebrations and festivals are a way of life for Indian people. These are also occasions to develop sensitization and respect for tradition, inherited wisdom, and natural cycle of seasons, agriculture, life and life forms. Rabindranath Tagore in his school at Shantiniketan has initiated the celebration of Posh Mela, etc., which are opportunities to teach students about culture and traditions, and presented several lessons in a joyous community-centric platform. Environmental themed festivals or melas can be organized with the participants running different stalls showcasing local environmental aspects. Information and relevant activities themed around nature, seasons, biodiversity, food and cuisines. Organizing skills, investment on material and community participation are needed for this activity, though the learning outcomes are fairly rewarding. Exhibitions can be used to display a lot of messages and information in an interesting way. Exhibitions of posters, paintings, articles made of locally available materials can be organized, and the participants can be assigned the task of organizing and running the show. They can explain environmental concepts to the visitors and can manage the stalls. Theatre, play or puppet shows can also be held, and these following objectives can be achieved, that is to create an entertaining presentation with an environmental message, to learn how performing arts contribute to a deeper understanding of issues at hand. Teams of participants get together to write a play on a given theme of environment. They create props, etc., and then practice the play. The play can be presented in-house or to the community. Competition can be held among the teams for best play. And finally, a very important and interesting extracurricular activity is the Green School project. Here the objective is to involve the community in the movement towards best environmental practices and to put in practice all that has been learnt in the environmental education program. In this activity, participants create a step-by-step plan for a school which practices the best environmental actions through different aspects such as architecture, academic calendar, action of staff and students, administrative procedures and community outreach. The plan must include the other extracurricular activities learned during the Teachers Training Institute programs. The plans are then discussed in the group and improvements are done. Dear learners, after doing all these extracurricular activities, the participants are sure to learn about new skills to save the environment, and their attitude towards the environment will surely be changed. Thank you.